This is an analysis of the poem A Child to His Sick Grandfather from the Edexcel English Literature GCSE Poetry Anthology, Relationships section. This poem is by Joanna Baillie. A little bit of context about her. She was a famous Scottish dramatist and poet of the late 18th and early 19th century. So she was writing during the early Romantic era and was one of the foremost poets of this time, especially female poets. And her work exerted a strong influence on the leading Romantic poets Shelley and Byron. She moved to London in 1784 and was encouraged to write poetry by her aunt, who gained her access to the Literary Society of London. Um, and she was well kind of received by the largely male literary writers of the time, literary giants of the time. And it's quite unusual because it's at a time when creative women's voices were rarely heard, but a lot of contemporary writers held her in a lot of high esteem. And this poem was from her first published collection, Poems, wherein it is attempted to describe certain views of nature and of rustic manners. So you can see already that her kind of influence of nature and kind of the old countryside tales is what influenced, in their turn, Shelley and Byron. It's one of the earlier poems in the collection and is one of the four romantic poems in the collection. So there's quite a few archaic words in it because it is written at the end of the 18th century. Stocked means wearing stockings or long socks in this case because it's about a male dress. Coarse is just a body, sometimes a corpse, a dead body, but can just be used for body that's alive. I know not what in or the I what not how I know is what is WOT is I know not. So if you say I what not, it's I don't know. Wheel is someone's wheel is their welfare or well-being. To doff something is to take it off. So if you doff your hat, you take your hat off. I, as well as being kind of like I, as in yes, it's like if you say something, I do something for I, it means forever. A partlet is a hen. To nod is to sleep. You nod means you're starting to sleep. And hopefully you know that a sestet is a stanza of 6 lines, and this poem is written in sestets. Here it is. They're all 6 lines. You can hopefully immediately say that there's a kind of refrain, although it's different each time, but the dad is repeated throughout, but they're similar. I'm vexed to see you, dad, to sit beside you, dad. I love my own old dad. Why are you wailing, dad? Every The point is that every kind of last line, nearly every last line, has the word dad in it. And this actually, a bit confusingly, is actually short for granddad here, not dad as in father. And this is it's a abbreviation of granddad. We know this is called A Child to His Sick Grandfather, so it is the grandfather he's talking about. It's a female poet, but she's writing in the persona of a child, a male child, a child to his sick grandfather. Um, so first of all, to look at the structure of it. So it's written in sestets, frail fail, horse course, sad dad, and it's written in couplets, rhyming couplets, A A B B C C. Head dead, beanie, glad dad. You've got to remember this would be said in a Scottish accent. So heed indeed, stroke my heed. I can't do a Scottish accent. And tell me how good children deed. No, I definitely can't do a Scottish accent, but that would rhyme if you did a Scottish accent. Hangs crown, down crown, cheeks breaks, fled dad. Um, they may be half rhymes, but they may be actual full rhymes if you do them in Scottish. She does start off with granddad, and you see how that's kind of hyphenated there, which shows you how that then gets abbreviated to just dad, a granddad. Okay. So she's talking, or sorry, the persona of the young male child is talking to their grandfather. Grandad, they say you're old and frail, your stocked legs begin to fail. And there's a big end stopped line there because that's sad, isn't it? His legs are failing. He's coming towards the end of his life. So it emphasizes the sorrow, I think, here. Your knobbed stick that was my horse, as that's his walking stick that they're talking about. That there's memories that the child used to play without pretending it was like a horse and to gallop around on it. But now that can scarcely support his bent over body. Um, and he has to kind of lean up against the wall. And it says, I'm vexed to see you, Dad. And the vexed here is, it does have that slight meaning of anger, but it's more like confusion in this term. The word has changed meanings over the years. I'm dismayed to see you. I'm sorry. I'm confused to see you like this. This is very much a poem about aging and about death, basically. I'm going to just read the whole poem through before I do any more, so you get an overall understanding of the story of it. Grandad, they say you're old and frail, your stocked legs begin to fail. Your knobbed stick that was my horse can scarce support your bended course, while back to wall you lean so sad. I'm vexed to see you, Dad. You used to smile and stroke my head and tell me how good children did. But now I wot not how it be. You take me seldom on your knee, and yet ne'ertheless I am right glad to sit beside you, Dad. How lank and thin your beard hangs down, scant are the white hairs on your crown. How wan and hollow are your cheeks, your brow is rough with crossing breaks. But yet, for all his strength be fled, I love my own old Dad. The housewives round their potions brew, and gossips come to ask for you, and for your weal each neighbour cares, and good men kneel and say their prayers, and everybody looks so sad when you are ailing, Dad. You will not die and leave us then. Rouse up and be our Dad again. When you are quiet and laid in bed, we'll doff our shoes and softly tread, and when you wake will I be near to fill old Dad his chair. When through the house you shift your stand, I'll lead you kindly by the hand. When dinner's set, I'll with you bide, and I be serving at your side. And when the weary fire turns blue, I'll sit and talk with you. I have a tale both long and good about a partlet and her brood, and cunning greedy fox that stole by dead of midnight through a hole, which slyly to the hen roost led. You love a story, Dad. And then I have a wondrous tale of men all clad in coats of mail, with glittering swords. You nod, I think. Your fixed eyes begin to wink. Down on your bosom sinks your head. You do not hear me, Dad. Okay, so I've looked at the first verse here. And the second one, this is a kind of poem about memories and how an age and how it changes you. Um, so here you've got kind of his memory of how they used to be when he was a child. Used to smile and stroke my head and tell me how good children did, but now I wot not how it be. Remember, that means I don't know how it can be. You take me seldom on your knee. Seldom is like rarely, so I don't sit on your lap anymore like I used to when I was little. But I'm glad to be sitting beside you. So you get these very loving, caring tones throughout this stanza. And then here you get your exclamative line, um, showing the kind of, I don't know, shock or concern about how old his granddad looks, how lank and thin your beard hangs down. Scant, which means few, which means there aren't many. Scant are the white hairs on your crown, so you've got hardly any hair left. How wan and hollow are your cheeks, like thin and hollow. And this is a metaphor here for wrinkles. There's crossing breaks on your brow, on your forehead. Um, but yet, for all his strength be fled, I love my own old Dad. So even though you're old, I still love you. The love doesn't change. And you can possibly mention the strong rhyme scheme, which doesn't change either, to link it to the love of the grandson for the grandfather never changes. And then he's talking about like what everyone thinks of his granddad here. Everyone loves him and wants the best for him. For your real well-being, each neighbour cares, and good men kneel and say their prayers. And the housewives and the gossips and the neighbours and good men. So you've got all the different people here, the listing here of all the different people who care for him. Um, Ailing means feeling ill or getting ill. And then here's the kind of midpoint of the poem with this rhetorical question: you will not die and leave us then? So there's the sadness of this rhetorical question, in that he's a bit helpless, about what's going to happen to his granddad. And almost there's an imperative here, there's an order: rouse up, like get up and be our dad again, like almost ordering him, willing him not to get ill, not to die, and promises him things that they'll do if he does that. When you're quiet and ladyboard, we'll doff our shoes and softly tread, like we won't make a noise for you. When you do wake, we'll be near to you, to fill old dad his cheer. And here's a metaphor as well, almost like to fill a glass with and say cheers to someone. Metaphor to celebrate with them. And then also, again, it's kind of a pleading tone here. Look, these are the things I'll do for you if you just get better. When through the house you shift your stand, I'll lead you kindly by the hand, like I'll help you through the house. And I'll sit with you at dinner. When dinner's set, I'll with you bide. And I be serving at your side always. I'll always help you out. And when the weary fire turns blue, I'll sit and talk with you. And you've got personification here of even the fire is weary, age, death. And he says, I'll tell you stories. It's like the tables have turned. The grandfather presumably used to tell the grandson stories, um, and now the reverse is happening. He says he'll tell him stories to kind of entertain him. And the stories are here, you've got like stories about a fox who steals, who's trying to get into the hen house, and then some down here you have more kind of ancient myths and legends. So it's all like children's stories, like Aesop's fables, and then the King Arthur kind of tales as well, um, of these kind of magical legends and stories that will perhaps make his grandfather want to live again, or is just a very caring way of like being with someone who's ill, who helping them and trying to take their mind off it. Um, and then you love a story, Dad. So this kind of quite, it's full of pathos, this poem, meaning it makes us feel sympathetic to those people in it. And the final verse, a wondrous tale, which could link to kind of like, heavenly, with the things that he says: men all clad in coats of mail, that's like knights in shining armor with glittering swords. You've got this kind of fantastical imagery, which could relate to something otherworldly, something supernatural, perhaps him passing through to the other side. Um, and then you've got the caesura here just before he says, you nod, I think, meaning you're going to sleep. But there's that fear in his voice. Is this the death of his granddad? Is he actually dying, or is he sleeping? Your fixed eyes begin to wink. Down on your bosom sinks your head. And then we've got an end stopped line here, a big pause before the final line, which probably denotes that he's actually died. You do not hear me, Dad. And it's kind of quite, there's a finality about that, suggesting he's died rather than just gone to sleep. So this poem is one of the kind of family poems in the collection, along with Nettles and My Father Would Not Show Us, about family relationships. But it also could be linked by the idea of loss of something in a relationship, and this is the loss of the grandfather himself, or the loss of youth. So it could be, actually I haven't put it here, but one flesh as well, that that they've lost that youthful edge to their relationship, and the relationship is changing over time, just like the child's relationship with his grandfather's changed over time. It's probably easier linked to My Father Would Not Show Us. This is a very loving and close relationship with the grandfather, and the child is actually there at the grandfather's bedside as he dies, whereas My Father Would Not Show Us is a child very much removed from her father, who has perhaps more negative memories from childhood. And I think that's quite a strong connection you can make between those two poems.